They weren't just making a war movie, they were summoning a war back to life. Behind the soaring score and flawless aerial formations, the Battle of Britain was born in turbulence. Real aircraft tearing through open skies, veteran pilots carrying memories that never truly faded, and a production constantly teetering on collapse. Weather turned hostile, budgets bled, safety became a daily gamble. Every flight risked history itself. Some truths were quietly altered, others were gently buried. What audiences received was polished history, heroic, ordered, cinematic. What unfolded behind the cameras was messier, riskier, and far more unsettling. This isn't the battle you already know. It's the story the film rarely tells. These are 17 bizarre facts the producers didn't advertise to anyone. No computer effects. When The Battle of Britain was made in the late 1960s, CGI simply did not exist. If audiences were going to believe the air war on screen, the filmmakers had only one option: use real aircraft. As a result, nearly every plane seen in the film was an actual, flyable World War II-era aircraft, restored and flown decades after the war had ended. This decision immediately set the production apart. Instead of models or optical tricks, the sky was filled with real Spitfires, Hurricanes, and German fighter lookalikes roaring at full power. Many of these planes were already rare by the 1960s, meaning the production had to search across Europe to find aircraft that could still fly. Some were privately owned, others maintained by air forces or aviation collectors, all requiring constant mechanical attention. The risks were real. These were aging machines, not modern jets, and flying them repeatedly in tight formations placed enormous strain on both pilots and engines. Several aircraft were damaged during filming, and each loss permanently reduced the number of surviving World War II planes in the world. What makes this even more striking is that some of the pilots flying these aircraft had actually flown in combat during the real Battle of Britain. Fake Luftwaffe planes. When audiences watch The Battle of Britain, the German Messerschmitts slicing through the sky look deadly authentic. But the truth behind the camera is stranger than fiction. Many of these Luftwaffe planes were not German at all. They were Spanish-built Hispano Aviación aircraft, modified and repainted to pass for the iconic fighters of the Third Reich. The production faced a major problem. By the 1960s, authentic Messerschmitts were extremely rare, fragile, and almost impossible to fly safely. To recreate the epic aerial battles, the filmmakers needed planes that could handle repeated takes, tight formations, and stunts, and Spanish-built lookalikes were the only practical solution. Skilled engineers meticulously altered the aircraft, adjusting engines, cockpits, and exteriors so they could survive the demands of filming while appearing historically accurate on screen. Even with these modifications, flying these stand-ins was risky. Pilots had to adapt to slightly different handling, balance, and responsiveness, all while performing choreographed combat maneuvers at low altitudes. Safety precautions were intense, yet the production remained tense because even a minor error could destroy one of the already rare planes. This clever substitution is a perfect example of how the film blended authenticity with practicality. What audiences see is cinematic history, dramatic dogfights, the fear and chaos of battle, but behind the scenes, it's a story of ingenuity, compromise, and respect for history. Veterans in cockpit. One of the most remarkable secrets of the Battle of Britain is that some of the pilots in its epic aerial scenes weren't just stuntmen. They were veterans of the actual Battle of Britain. Nearly 30 years after the skies over southern England had been filled with smoke and bullets, these men returned to the cockpit, recreating moments that had once meant life or death. Flying real WII aircraft is no small feat, but for these pilots, it carried a unique weight. Every climb, dive, and dogfight was a memory layered over the choreography of filmmaking. They knew instinctively how to handle their planes, how to gauge the distance of an enemy, how to react in a split second because they had done it for real. Yet this time, the only bullets were pyrotechnics, and the stakes were professional, rather than mortal. Working alongside younger pilots and actors, these veterans had to adapt their wartime skills to the demands of cinema. Repeated takes, camera angles, and safety regulations forced them to rethink maneuvers they had once executed instinctively. Still, they brought an authenticity to the screen that no modern effect could replicate. For audiences, the result was thrilling dogfights that felt dangerously real. For the pilots, it was a quiet return to history, a chance to relive both the pride and the fear of the battle they had survived. Flying dozens of aircraft. One of the most awe-inspiring aspects of the Battle of Britain was its sheer scale. To recreate the iconic aerial battles of 1940, the filmmakers didn't rely on models or visual effects. They put dozens of aircraft in the air at once, flying real combat formations across the English sky. Even by today's standards, coordinating so many planes in a single shot is a logistical nightmare. In 1968, it was almost unprecedented. The production drew from a mix of restored WWI-1 aircraft and Spanish-built lookalikes, each meticulously prepared to handle the demands of filming. Pilots had to maintain tight formations while keeping camera planes in position, all while performing maneuvers designed to convey the chaos and urgency of actual combat. One wrong move could have been catastrophic, yet the sequences were executed with precision, creating the illusion of large-scale dogfights that filled the screen with drama and danger. Weather, visibility, and timing made these flights even more challenging. Every cloud, sun angle, and gust of wind had to be accounted for, or the illusion of battle would be broken. Ground crews and directors worked tirelessly to choreograph these airborne sequences, sometimes calling off entire shoots at the last minute if conditions weren't perfect. The result is breathtaking. Audiences witness a living, moving battle that feels dangerously real, even decades later. Planes that paid the price. The production of the Battle of Britain was as risky on the ground as it was in the sky. Many of the aircraft used were rare, historic planes, machines that had survived actual combat in World War II. Flying them for a movie, sometimes in tight formations with explosions and low-altitude maneuvers, carried an inherent danger. It was only a matter of time before some of these precious planes were damaged during filming. Even minor incidents could be costly. Engines overheated, landing gear failed, and a few aircraft sustained structural damage that required extensive repairs. For the filmmakers, this wasn't just a budget problem, it was a matter of history. Each damaged plane represented a piece of aviation heritage, some of which could never be fully restored or flown again. In some cases, a single accident permanently reduced the number of surviving World War II aircraft in the world. The pilots themselves felt the weight of this responsibility. Many were veterans of the original Battle of Britain or experienced stunt flyers, yet even their skill couldn't eliminate the risks entirely. Each take demanded precision, concentration, and respect for the aging machines under their control. These accidents and near misses are part of what makes the film extraordinary. Audiences see seamless dogfights and daring aerial maneuvers, but behind the camera, every frame was a gamble, crafted with courage, care, and sometimes sheer luck. The weather that nearly killed the movie. Even with real planes and skilled pilots, the filmmakers of The Battle of Britain faced an enemy they could not tame: the weather. Filming aerial battles required clear skies, the right light, and consistent cloud patterns to make sequences match from shot to shot. Yet in England, the skies are famously unpredictable. What looked perfect one morning could be shrouded in fog or heavy clouds the next, forcing the production to stop filming for days at a time. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience. Every delay affected schedules, budgets, and the coordination of dozens of aircraft. Pilots and crew would be on standby, engines running, only to be told that visibility had dropped or a sudden gust made formations unsafe. Continuity became a constant headache. A dogfight filmed in the morning might have to be redone weeks later because the clouds, sunlight, or even the position of the sun had changed, breaking the illusion of seamless combat. For actors and ground crew, the delays were frustrating but necessary. Every aerial scene depended on careful choreography. One misaligned plane or sudden shadow could ruin a take. Yet these interruptions also gave the filmmakers time to double-check safety, maintain aging aircraft, and plan the next sequence with precision. The Royal Air Force support in production. The filmmakers of the Battle of Britain had an extraordinary ally, the Royal Air Force. Their assistance ranged from technical advice to coordinating airspace and providing aircraft expertise. But behind the public support, there were quiet, serious concerns about safety. Flying dozens of aircraft in close formation, with pyrotechnics and stunts designed for the camera, pushed both pilots and planes to the edge. Even seasoned aviators understood the risks. World War II planes, decades old by the late 1960s, weren't built for repeated precision maneuvers under filming conditions. Tight turns, simulated dogfights, and low-altitude passes meant that one small miscalculation could result in disaster. The RAF quietly monitored the flights, ready to intervene if something went wrong, and advised the crew on formation spacing, altitude, and timing. The tension wasn't always visible on set, but it was constant. Pilots and directors had to balance the demands of cinema with the real danger of the air. The pressure was enormous. For some, it was a reminder of the stakes these planes had once faced in actual combat. For others, it was simply the challenge of surviving another day in the sky. Despite these risks, the collaboration worked. The aerial sequences appear seamless and daring, yet they were crafted under careful supervision and intense concern for safety. Behind every breathtaking dogfight, there was vigilance, experience, and a shared understanding that history and human lives were literally in the air. Dangerous explosion, close to real planes. One of the most startling aspects of the Battle of Britain is how dangerously real the explosions were. Long before CG-1's every blast, every smoke plume, and every fiery impact had to be created with practical pyrotechnics. These weren't miniatures on a soundstage, they were full-scale effects, timed precisely while real aircraft flew mere yards away. Coordinating such stunts was a delicate balancing act. Pyrotechnics teams had to ignite charges at the exact moment the planes passed, while pilots followed a strict flight path. A fraction of a second too early or too late could have damaged a rare aircraft or worse. The tension on set was constant, with directors, stunt coordinators, and pilots working together to achieve shots that looked chaotic while remaining carefully controlled. For the audience, the result is breathtaking. Dogfights and explosions feel visceral, immediate, and frighteningly authentic. But behind the camera, the reality was much more precarious. Each take required intense focus, trust, and precision from everyone involved. Pilots navigated aging aircraft through smoke, fire, and debris, fully aware that mistakes could be catastrophic. These practical effects weren't just spectacle, they were part of the film's commitment to authenticity. Every fiery blast captured on screen carried real-world risk, helping make the aerial sequences some of the most thrilling and convincing ever filmed. The combination of courage, skill, and danger created a tension that audiences still feel decades later, making the skies of the Battle of Britain unforgettable. Ground actors' scenes. In The Battle of Britain, what the audience sees on screen often feels immediate and chaotic. But for the actors on the ground, the experience was very different. Many cockpit and runway scenes were filmed without the actors ever seeing the actual air battles, which were staged miles above them. Dogfights, smoke trails, and looping planes existed in the sky, but the actors had to react as if they were right in the middle of it. This separation created a unique challenge for the performers. They had to convey fear, urgency, and exhilaration while imagining the chaos above, relying on direction, sound effects, and their own instincts. Timing became critical. An actor had to tilt ahead, grip controls, or shout lines at the exact moment a plane would swoop into frame, even though it was often far away. For the production team, this meant carefully choreographing every take, ensuring the ground action matched the aerial sequences. Camera angles, dialogue, and pilot cues had to align perfectly with footage shot from miles above. It was a constant exercise in precision and imagination, blending real danger in the sky with the crafted illusion on the ground. The result is deceptively seamless. Viewers feel the tension of battle, the roar of engines, and the adrenaline of combat, all while the actors performed in relative safety. Behind the scenes, it was a carefully orchestrated dance between imagination and reality, a testament to both the filmmaker's vision and the actor's skill. Real pilots' communication in cockpit. One of the most subtle but striking choices in the Battle of Britain was how cockpit scenes were deliberately quiet and restrained. Unlike most war films, where pilots shout, argue, or dramatically call out enemy positions, the filmmakers aimed for authenticity. Real pilots in combat rarely raised their voices. Communication was efficient, minimal, and precise. Any unnecessary noise could be fatal. To capture this, actors and stunt pilots had to adopt the same discipline. Inside cramped cockpits, every word was measured, every gesture deliberate. The camera lingered on hands adjusting controls, eyes scanning instruments, and fleeting glances at the sky, rather than bombastic dialogue. This restraint created a tension that audiences might not consciously notice, but felt intuitively, making every maneuver and decision weighty. The quiet also highlighted the contrast between the chaos outside the cockpit and the calm, focused professionalism inside. Explosions, dogfights, and smoke clouds roared overhead, but inside, pilots operated with precise economy. The choice reinforced the film's documentary-like tone, emphasizing the skill, focus, and mental endurance required in real air combat. For viewers, the effect is subtle but profound. It turns ordinary cockpit shots into high-stakes moments, where even a single glance or adjustment could mean survival or disaster. By stripping away dramatic filler, the film honors the true experience of pilots, offering an immersive, authentic glimpse into the quiet courage behind the roaring engines and blazing skies. Multiple heroes. Unlike many war films of its era, the Battle of Britain deliberately avoided centering on a single heroic character. There is no one star to carry the story, no solitary ace whose skill defines the battle. Instead, the film emphasizes the collective effort of men and women whose courage, skill, and sacrifice shaped history. This choice reflected the reality of the 1940 air campaign. The outcome of the Battle of Britain wasn't determined by a single pilot or officer. It was the result of thousands of coordinated actions. Spitfire and Hurricane pilots, ground crews, radar operators, and commanders all played crucial roles. By spreading the focus, the filmmakers created a broader, more authentic portrait of the human effort behind the victory. For audiences, this means the story feels both immense and intimate. We see multiple perspectives: the tension in a cockpit, the urgency in a control room, the exhaustion of ground crews, and the weight of command decisions. Each moment carries emotional significance, yet no one character overshadows the others. This narrative choice also shaped the film's tone. Rather than glorifying individual heroism, it celebrates teamwork, resilience, and shared responsibility. The absence of a single main hero allows viewers to appreciate the scale and complexity of the battle, making the tension and triumph feel earned. In doing so, the Battle of Britain stands apart from typical war films. It's not just a story of victory, it's a tribute to the collective courage and humanity of everyone involved, both in the air and on the ground. Some historically inaccurate scenes. In the Battle of Britain, historical accuracy often collided with cinematic necessity. Some of the aircraft used in filming had their paint schemes altered, not out of carelessness, but because they needed to be clearly visible on camera. Authentic World War II camouflage, while accurate, sometimes blended too well into the sky or landscape, making it difficult for audiences to follow the action during fast-paced aerial sequences. The filmmakers worked closely with pilots and technical advisors to strike a balance between authenticity and visibility. Spitfires, Hurricanes, and German look-alike planes were repainted with slightly brighter markings or more contrasting patterns, ensuring that viewers could distinguish one aircraft from another amid clouds, smoke, and explosions. Even subtle changes, like adjusting the size or color of insignias, helped maintain clarity without completely sacrificing historical fidelity. This decision also had practical benefits during filming. Pilots flying tight formations could more easily track each other when maneuvering at high speeds. Cameras, too, could capture the intricate choreography of dogfights without the visuals becoming muddled or confusing. While some purists might see this as a compromise, it was a carefully considered choice that enhanced both safety and storytelling. The result is a film that feels visually dynamic and easy to follow, while still respecting history. Audiences may never notice these subtle adjustments, but they contribute to the seamless tension and clarity of the aerial battles, proving that even small technical decisions behind the scenes can have a major impact on cinematic realism. Mid-air terror. For the pilots of the Battle of Britain, flying for the camera was surprisingly grueling, sometimes even more exhausting than actual combat. On paper, choreographing dogfights might seem simpler than wartime missions, but the reality was far more demanding. Each maneuver had to be repeated multiple times from different angles, at precise speeds, and within tight formations, leaving little room for error. These were not modern jets. They were aging World War II aircraft, sensitive to fatigue and requiring constant attention. Engines, controls, and fuel systems had to be managed perfectly during every take, often under extreme stress. Pilots couldn't rely on instinct alone. They had to synchronize with cameras, co-pilots, and pyrotechnics teams, while keeping hundreds of feet of sky between themselves and neighboring planes. One small mistake could mean serious damage or injury. Repeated sequences compounded the physical toll. A single dogfight might be flown 6 or 7 times to capture all the angles the director needed. By the end of the day, pilots reported sore necks, strained arms, and mental exhaustion that rivaled the intensity of real wartime sorties. Yet this meticulous dedication paid off on screen. Audiences experience dogfights that feel fluid, dangerous, and convincingly chaotic, without ever realizing the incredible effort behind each shot. The combination of skill, stamina, and patience turned a potentially routine aerial shoot into a test of endurance, proving that authenticity often comes at a cost, even decades after the war had ended. A budget on fire. One of the hidden challenges behind the Battle of Britain was not in the skies, but in the hangars and workshops where the aircraft were maintained. The planes used in filming were decades old, often restored World War II fighters, and keeping them airworthy for repeated takes was both time-consuming and expensive. Every engine check, every replacement part, and every minor repair added up, turning what was already one of the most ambitious British productions of the 1960s into a logistical and financial marathon. The filmmakers faced constant pressure to keep the aircraft flying safely. Engines would overheat, landing gear required careful adjustment, and occasional structural issues needed immediate attention. Because these were historic planes, parts were often rare or custom-made, sometimes requiring sourcing from across Europe. Mechanics and engineers worked around the clock, often improvising solutions to keep the fleet operational for the next day of filming. The rising costs weren't limited to repairs. Fuel, insurance, and pilot wages also added to the growing budget, which swelled far beyond initial projections. Every day on set became a balancing act between maintaining historical authenticity, keeping pilots safe, and staying financially afloat. Despite these challenges, the effort paid off. Audiences witnessed breathtaking dogfights and stunning aerial formations, unaware of the financial and mechanical strain behind each frame. The soaring budget was a hidden reflection of the filmmakers' commitment to authenticity, proving that cinematic realism sometimes comes at a very real cost. Several rewritten sequences. Even with careful planning, the Battle of Britain faced constant uncertainty in the air. Some sequences had to be completely rewritten or abandoned simply because the planes scheduled to fly were unavailable. Aging World War II aircraft were temperamental, and mechanical issues, maintenance delays, or unexpected damage could ground them for days or weeks at a time. For the filmmakers, this meant flexibility became a daily necessity. Scripts and shot lists were often adjusted on the fly, with directors, pilots, and technical advisors working together to reimagine dogfights or cockpit scenes. Sometimes, a planned aerial maneuver had to be replaced with a simpler shot, or a dramatic sequence cut entirely. Not for artistic reasons, but because the planes and the pilots capable of flying them simply weren't ready. This improvisation didn't just affect aerial scenes. Ground shots, dialogue, and actor reactions all had to be recalibrated to match what was actually happening in the sky. Continuity, storytelling, and visual clarity became a delicate puzzle, solved moment by moment. Despite these challenges, the film's scale and realism were never compromised. The audience sees seamless battles, thrilling dogfights, and a vivid sense of danger, never knowing how many compromises and rewrites were made behind the camera. The struggle to keep sequences airborne highlights both the logistical genius and relentless determination of the production team, proving that history can be recreated on film only with courage, creativity, and sometimes sheer improvisation. A living memorial, not just a movie. For many involved, the Battle of Britain was never just a movie. From actors and directors to pilots and ground crew, countless individuals approached the production as a living memorial to the men and women who had fought in 1940. Every take, every carefully choreographed sequence, and every restored aircraft carried the weight of history. Veteran pilots returning to the cockpit weren't simply performing stunts, they were honoring comrades long gone, reliving experiences that had once decided life or death. Ground crews, too, felt the significance of their work. Maintaining fragile, decades-old aircraft wasn't merely a technical challenge. It was a form of tribute, ensuring that these machines could safely take to the skies one more time. Even the actors embraced this mindset. When filming cockpit scenes, reacting to simulated dogfights, or portraying exhausted crew members on the ground, they were aware they were depicting real bravery, sacrifice, and resilience. The attention to detail, the careful handling of planes, and the reverent pacing of aerial sequences all reflected a desire to honor history rather than just entertain audiences. This ethos shaped the film's tone. Unlike typical war movies focused on glamour or hero worship, the Battle of Britain conveys a quiet respect for the collective effort, the risk, and the human endurance behind the battle itself. For those on set, it wasn't a role or a job. It was a chance to participate in a cinematic monument, capturing a moment of courage and dedication that would be remembered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Commercial struggle. Despite its groundbreaking visuals and dedication to authenticity, the Battle of Britain struggled commercially when it was first released. Audiences in 1969 were faced with a nearly 3-hour film that focused less on a single hero and more on the collective human effort of the battle. The expansive aerial sequences, meticulous attention to historical detail, and quiet, restrained cockpit moments made for a film that was visually stunning but emotionally different from the fast-paced, character-driven war movies of the era. Critics were divided. Some praised the scale and realism, marveling at the daring aerial choreography and the inclusion of actual World War II aircraft. Others found the pacing slow, and some audiences struggled to connect with a story that intentionally avoided a central heroic figure. Box office returns reflected this tension. The film did not initially achieve the commercial success that its creators had hoped for. Over time, however, perceptions changed. Film historians, aviation enthusiasts, and war movie fans began to recognize the extraordinary achievement behind the cameras. The careful planning, the practical effects, the risks taken with real planes, and the dedication of veterans returning to the cockpit were all re-evaluated as hallmarks of cinematic ambition. Today, the Battle of Britain is remembered not only for its historical subject matter, but also for the incredible effort, authenticity, and artistry that went into making it. Its early commercial struggles are now a footnote to a legacy that has only grown more impressive with age, proving that true dedication to realism can take time to be fully appreciated. History on screen often looks clean, heroic, and perfectly controlled. But as you've seen, the truth behind the Battle of Britain was anything but. It was risky, unpredictable, and at times just as dangerous as the war it tried to recreate. If these hidden stories surprised you, don't forget, every classic film has a shadow side waiting to be uncovered. So hit the like button if you enjoyed this deep dive. Subscribe for more untold stories from film and history, and let me know in the comments which of these facts shocked you the most. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.